What's up, everyone? Hopefully, it's everyone coming in tonight with DuFrane. What's up, Paul? Allie, Bobby, welcome in, everybody. I think, hey, what is up? I'm gonna get you in here, Steven.
All right.
How are you tonight, sir?
I'm well. Let me figure out a couple things here. Okay.
No
see
worries.
Me? All right.
Not yet.
Let's see. There it is.
Are. So I got to tell you, the last couple videos that you've made without your hat, I didn't recognize you.
I know it. I know it. I don't wear this when because I'm building out that whole new facility. I'm not wearing this, doing that kind of work. So yeah.
I understand. So First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in the big box. Okay. So there we go.
All right.
So
nobody puts baby in the corner, and I get the big box. That's right.
That's right. Nobody puts baby in the corner. My wife would love that quote. She is a big fan. Hey, what's up, Tony P? Greg? Man, a bunch of people in here already. The missing hat threw us all, says Greg.
Yeah, I know.
That's all right. Maybe we switch it up sometimes.
I had folks saying, "Hey, I didn't even know you had hair." So
that's fair.
I'm always in the hat. That's for sure.
So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And this is one I've been looking forward to. I really have. I've been looking at your watches and your story.
Cool.
And Steven, do I have a lot of questions for you tonight? But first, let me introduce you to everyone who is here. If you are in the live right now, we are live with Steven Lee. He is the owner of DuFrane Watches. He's been in business since 2016. Is that right, Steven?
Yes, sir.
2016. And we are going to get into everything tonight. So if you are down below, if you could please like the live, share it out to anybody you can share it out to. I want as many people as we can to get to meet Steven tonight and his absolutely specced out amazing watches.
Oh, cool.
So
I appreciate that.
That's all right. That is okay. That's why I do these, because I love the story behind the story behind the watches, the people. And if more people can get to know you, they will love your watches, and they might buy your watches. So that's always a good thing. That's right. I got something already. Who sent me that? Land Time. Don is here. What's up, Land Time? Yeah, so we've got a lot of people down below. So I'm going to start out with one of my standard questions. Okay, so before DuFrane, we'll get into the name here in a little while. Who was Steven Lee? Tell me a little bit about you, like before the watches.
Well, I will say this. I mean, they've always been a part of me in some capacity. I think that would be obvious, just because I don't think you can just decide to go and do this thing. So I was, I had a couple of careers before I started the brand. But, ever since I was a kid, I just loved watches. But, I went to school, I went to a school that had a flight program. And so my first career, I was a pilot. So I did a couple of different things, building hours, and then I was a corporate pilot. I flew what's called a King Air for a company.
Yeah.
And, I enjoyed that, but it became more of a business than the enjoyment of flying. Like flying a plane is a lot of fun. Playing around with clouds and
Yeah.
doing maneuvers and things like that is a lot of fun. And so, but then I was always traveling. I was always gone. And so I decided I wanted to go do something else.
Hmm.
And I didn't know what that other else thing was because ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a pilot. I went to school. I got a degree in aviation management and aviation flight and aviation management. So that's what I thought I was going to do. And so and this was so long ago. This is why I have a gray beard. But I answered an ad in in the paper for a sales job, and so then I decided to go into sales. And so that kind of spawned my second career that I spent a good 20 some years in various types of sales. But I was in the last thing I did before I fully call it retired and just focused on DuFrane. It's hard to say retired when you're doing so much, but I was in software sales. So I was in software and tech sales. And the good thing about that is that during that time, kind of the last several years of my software career, it afforded me to really focus on this and really try to figure this out.
Yeah.
So from that just brief little history, nothing in there is about watches other than just me liking watches as a kid. And
Right.
as I got older and had a little money, bought my, some watches. My first nice watch was a Tag Heuer,
Hmm.
quartz watch, but it was the coolest thing in the world because it said Swiss made on it.
Hmm.
I mean, that spawned some like personal hobbies and journeys, but nothing was to the level of what I decided to kind of dive into.
Yeah.
And so it was all because I loved watches, but not trained in it by any stretch of the imagination.
Self-taught, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So I do. You're telling us that you were a pilot. You were a pipeline pilot, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
built ours flying pipeline. Yep.
You've flown King Airs. I have fueled King Airs before. I used to work at the FBO out here
Okay.
at Lom Airport. One of my favorite jobs ever. Where did you go? If you don't mind my asking, where did you go to school for?
Southern Illinois University.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I looked at a couple of different programs. There was three or four around, and I chose Southern Illinois because they had a relationship with United, where a set number of students each year would be would get introduced into the United program, and so I thought that was a decent path, and so that's the school I chose. Yeah.
Nice. I had three friends who went to Laterno after they
Oh
graduated
yeah. Okay.
and went into the aviation industry after that. One flew for the Navy. So that really fascinated me because I really enjoyed working at the FBO.
Yeah.
When you were younger, when you were a kid, I think I read something about you being fascinated with time by the age of
Yeah.
8.
Yeah. It was so I love dinosaurs,
Mhm.
like I think
So
every
does my
kid did.
grandson.
Right, every kid did.
Yeah.
But I was fascinated by that. Now wait a minute, I don't even know how to get my head around 65 million years ago. Like I don't understand how does that mean that's what time is? So oh look, you got a friend behind you.
My
So
ride or die. There he is.
my mom she gifted me her father's watch, so my grandfather's watch. But even before that, I bought my first like little digital watch on my own. I don't There's no one in my family that has any lineage in watchmaking, nothing at all. I grew up in the middle of the country. My dad wore a watch, and so that's all I knew about watches is that my dad wore one, and he's left-handed, and so he wore his watch on his right arm.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I just thought I'm right-handed, but I've always worn my watch on my right,
Oh
just
really?
because I grew up thinking that's what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do is wear your watch on your right arm. So that it, it was it was a childhood just you know infatuation with trying to figure out how time worked because I was so just interested in dinosaurs, and that span of time just really, didn't make sense to me. But then I just started to, just enjoy and like watches. And at that time, it was, little Pulsar digital watches and Casios and things like that. Timex, of course, things like that. But just inexpensive things that I could buy and just, was interested in. But yeah, it just started as a kid, and my mom always kind of encouraged it, and she just thought,
Nice.
she even joked around, "You're going to be one of those guys in New York with a
Want to buy a
coat
watch?
saying, 'You want to watch? You got to watch. I got a gold one. I got a yeah."
So, at what point? I know it probably wasn't 8 years old, but what point did you realize that watches would be a present part of your life, a big part of your life?
Yeah, it really wasn't until much later in life. I mean, I was constantly trying to find or think of something I could do in the space, but I didn't really know, in the industry. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what that meant. As I got older, I actually took a couple of trips over to Switzerland, and into Germany, and exposed myself to the watch mecca land, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, that was in the early, well, yeah, 2010s. That's when it really started to kind of formulate in my head, because I before that I was like, well, I mean, the only thing I could do is sell watches. I don't really want to just sell watches.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated by these things. The
Yeah.
older I got, I bought a Seiko Kinetic, and I was like, look at that rotor in the back. What is that
Mm-hmm.
thing doing? How does that work? So I just started to get more interested in the mechanics of it, and thought, after doing these trips to Europe a couple of times, thought, okay, I wonder if I could actually start a brand. Let me do some research on that. Let me see how that would play.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that same time, while I was doing this research, I simultaneously would just buy old junk movements off of eBay that were $10, $8, and just take them apart, put them back together, take them apart, put them back together. Learned the value of good tools, because I would buy just cheap eBay or, what I mean, junk
Yeah.
tools, and try to take them apart, and figured out, okay, you actually need something better than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all out of just interest and desire to figure it out. And that's how I taught myself, like, how movements work, how how you take them apart, put them back together, what the different parts of the movement do, how you regulate them, how just through pure self exploration, taking pictures. Okay, that's what it looks like when it's together. Now that I take apart, let me try to put it back together and match the picture. So I never did take any kind of watch making course or class or anything. I've read some books, but it was all just on the job, if you will, training.
Let me just say, looking at your watches and then hearing that story from you, that to me does not juxtapose that. And please don't think that's disrespectful
No,
at all.
no.
I'm just saying, for a self-trained horologist, you built beautiful watches.
No,
So
I
go ahead.
that's what's funny about it is that's the least of my concerns around, like, when I was getting the idea of starting the brand, because I'm not a designer either by any stretch.
Right.
I mean, but I kind of figured, I'll design what I like, and there'll be an audience for it.
Right.
So I can't. I was a big fan of watches. I didn't want to copy anything, though. I didn't want to, and not that there's anything wrong with homages or anything like that at all.
Right.
I just didn't want to do that, because that already, exists. I want to try to figure out, how do I make, different designs that I find interesting. And if the folks like it, great. And if they don't, they don't. So
We've had a bunch of people join us. So I'm going to reset here just a little bit, and I might do that occasionally throughout the live, just to let everybody know they're already here for you, but I'm going to go ahead and reset anyway. So thank you all for being down there in the comments. And if you have questions, go ahead and put them in there. I'll do my best to get to them. We are Beyond the Bezel tonight with Stephen Lee, owner, founder of DuFrane Watches. And if you haven't been to his website, take that opportunity now to go to his website and look at the watches. Maybe buy one while you're there. I'm sure Stephen would appreciate it, and you'll appreciate it when you get that beautiful watch in the mail. Go ahead and share us out. I'd greatly appreciate it. I want as many people to be able to meet Stephen tonight as possible. And like the live. Why not? You're sitting there, like the live. So I that kind of spawned a question for me when you were talking about two things. When you were talking about aviation and taking things apart and putting them back together, did you always do that as a kid? Was that something I did?
Yeah.
I took apart radios.
Yeah, I was my middle son is kind of that way too. When he was younger, he would just take stuff apart and put it back together, and sometimes not put it back together. But I was always I guess call it mechanical in that sense, but a lot of that was because of my dad. My dad was a big gearhead. He loved cars. We always repaired and worked on cars. And so, we lived on a farm, and so if anything broke, you just had to fix it, and so I just kind of grew up in a little bit of that DNA. Like, you just kind of have to figure out how it works. We don't it's a our well was a pump. Okay, I don't know how it works, but let's take it apart and figure it out, because it's not working and it's broke. We got to fix it. So I think part of that was just growing up in that kind of environment. But yeah, there's some things that I know I can't touch. I'm not trained enough to take apart. But there's a lot of things that I'll just, even today, I'll just kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
Watch related or not watch related. Like I just kind of have that, I guess, inquisitive mind to try to go figure it out. And worst case scenario, I got to go buy something new. But let me go try to figure it out first.
Right. Yeah, a lot of things around the house, water heaters, tearing things apart to fix them, plumbing, all that kind of stuff. I see where you're coming from there. And the second question was, did you, being a pilot, do you make any connection between aviation, your experience as a pilot, and watches, time?
Not anything other than the first watch that I designed for the brand was a pilot themed aviation, themed watch. And so, it's called the Bergstrom. And when I launched the brand, that's what I launched the brand with, was this, kind of, pilot watch. And it came from, that was my first career. And part of the design, it's got a small seconds hand. Part of the design has the rendering of the artificial horizon cockpit instrument. So that was directly pulled just from, my history, if you will. But, that would be the closest thing, if you will, from my, call it, aviation days, and how the watch is kind of, mashed up.
Okay. So I'll take you back here a little bit. You mentioned being a pipeline pilot, and I think I might know what that is, but for those down below who don't, can you explain what that was, what you did, and why you had to do it for hours and the actual job?
It's a way for young or starting pilots to build hours. There's several different ways that you can do to build hours, because hours means experience, and that's what somebody hiring you wants, is a pilot with experience. Just like anything else, you want your doctor to have experience. You want your pilot to have experience. So it's a one of the ways is to be an instructor, where you are actually teaching others how to fly and you are logging the hours as an instructor. I didn't want to do that. And so I found this route where you literally fly over an underground pipeline. One of them went from Troy, Michigan, all the way up to Minot, North Dakota. It's underground. And this is really early in GPS days, and we could manually plot that pipeline on our little GPS screen. And you literally had a special, you had special permission to fly very low to the ground. And you're literally flying over this pipeline. There are mile markers as well, that you're making sure nobody's digging around it. No one's got a backhoe that they're clearing out a trench or something like that, and they'll hit that pipeline and cause an issue. And so literally you just were flying over, had a bag phone, cell phone, and would just, I can't tell you how many FBOs I used to land at. I got some really fun stories about FBOs. So I love,
Oh,
I love that you worked at
so
them.
do
Yeah.
I. So do I.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're just flying over these pipelines, and then making sure if someone's, mile marker, it's a mile south of mile or of marker 223, someone in a red truck looks like they got a backhoe out there, and they send some ground crew out there to investigate, make sure they know there's an underground line.
So it's
But it's just a way to build hours.
preventative builds hours for your resume to move on up in the aviation industry.
That's exactly right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we'll get into some FBO stories later.
Yeah.
But so having seen pilots and my friends do pre-flight checks, do you see any connection between you doing your pre-flight checks and you doing your pre-shipment of watches?
Yeah, so I think some of those things are just kind of, again, part of your wiring. And my oldest son works with me, and he kind of has this thing too, where it's a, he's actually from my, yes, I do have that very much so.
Yeah.
This is what I do, then I do this, then I do that, then I do that, then I do that. And if I don't do these things, this won't work. So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of, it comes very natural to me, very easy for me to kind of figure out the sequence and steps. And when I was teaching my son assembly of the different models that I make, he created these assembly guides for the different models, step by step, literally, everything except like turn the screw, like literally everything step by step by step. So I think it kind of runs in the family. But yeah, it comes natural for me. And I think being a pilot and being trained in that world of a checklist, a walk around inspection, then literally if you ever see or hear a pilot, they're up front, they have a checklist in their lap, and they've got they're saying everything verbally out loud, even though they don't need to, they have to, where they are literally checking every single flaps, that, every single thing, make sure it's all operational. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of connection with that, I think. And more so just the wiring of it, I think. Yeah.
Very good. So you're flying airplanes, then you move on to software, right? And the story that I read, I love the story. You were sitting in a meeting and you literally, and tell me if I'm wrong, you literally Googled how to start a watch company.
Yeah.
Were you that bored in the meeting? I've been in many meetings. I've Googled a lot of stuff. Tell me about that story, Steve.
It's very much, that was during that time where I was trying still to figure out what is it I could do. And I didn't, the light bulb hadn't really quite gone off yet. A lot of those components were there. Like I said, there was a great experience I had in Switzerland where I had a watch, a custom watch made, and just sitting there with the founder of the company and, making these decisions, and the environment, the cheese board and crackers and the espresso, and just that was so much fun. It really, really stuck in me. And I was like, man, if I could ever do something like this, that's the type of feeling I want to have. I want folks to feel like this is a really, really good experience. You're not just buying a watch, you're actually having a lot of, an experience. You're having fun.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was a point at which during several sessions of they're just corporate meetings. I mean,
Yep.
It's just rinse and repeat. And it's like I kicked off the call and kind of did my pitch and then handed it over to my sales engineer. And I just thought to myself, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I can't do this until I'm 60. So I decided at that point, I literally did Google, how do you start a watch brand? And that really is the start of DuFrane's, kind of figuring out the plumbing, if you will, like, how do I do this? And that was a big, big journey, because the name was easy to figure out. Okay. That was simple, but I'm not from the industry. I don't, I don't have connections. I don't know how you go about the entire process of procuring watches and building watches and marketing watches and advertising, like all of that stuff, ground level, none of it. I knew none of it. And so
Wow.
it took some time of research, and then it also took me being gainfully employed to
Uh-huh.
make a lot of costly mistakes.
Mm.
That was fine because I was employed. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could go and make these mistakes and figure out, okay, that's not what we do. Let's do something different.
Mhm.
And, again, still employed, I could make those mistakes and that was fine.
So was it something that was spur of the moment, or do you think it was building for years within
Oh,
you that you finally decided, I'm just gonna Google it?
yeah. No, it was building for years, but I wasn't really sure what it was until kind of that moment where I was
Right.
like, boom, how do you start a watch brand? And I don't know that I thought at that point I would necessarily do that or figure it out, but it put me down the path to start learning that, to start
Mhm.
trying to figure out, well,
Right.
what does that mean? And how do you go about it? And it drives my wife crazy because when I decide to do something, I just do it.
Mhm.
And I'm not a shopper, I'm a buyer. So I don't go to a
Yeah.
store to shop. I go and buy something and I'm done.
Then you're
And
done.
yeah, and sometimes that drives her nuts because she's like, "Well, now hold on a second, just kind of
Uh-huh.
think about it." And
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned the name, and as someone who dearly loves my mother, could
Mm,
you
mm.
tell us about how you chose the name for your brand and what it means to you?
Yeah. So first of all, I love that I get constantly two references to the name, either Shawshank Redemption
Yep.
or there was
Yep.
a comedian, Mitch Hedberg. So everybody knows Shawshank. Not as many people know who Mitch
Love Mitch
Hedberg was.
Hedberg.
Yeah,
Love Mitch Hedberg.
so funny. But that, like I mentioned, that was already kind of like, it took maybe two ideas in terms of the naming. I was like, oh no, it's my mother's maiden name. That's easy. So DuFrane is my mother's maiden name.
Right.
And not only was it because she, like I said, kind of used to tease me with the whole trench coat, you're going to have 500 watches one day, but
Right.
she didn't she encouraged it. She didn't say you can't do this anymore. But the name also just sounds, our my mom's heritage is French. It was spelled differently before they immigrated.
Hmm.
DuFresne.
Yeah.
I think they knew that, like most immigrants, they wouldn't be able to pronounce it, so let's change it to the way it sounds.
Right.
But the name just to me sounded like, a fairly easy name to remember,
Yeah.
and you know, obviously just the connection to my mom's maiden name.
To me, it evokes a higher quality product, is what I think of when I read Dufresne.
Good, good.
And I think of Andy. I was just there yesterday, actually, at the prison for another administrative conference. But so, how did you come up with the logo? Very unique.
Um, yeah, so there's a couple of, call it, inspirations for it. The first one is, again, my mother's name, Dufresne. Their family crest is a tree, so a tree trunk, and so
Okay.
that it's that kind of like, space, if you will, at the trunk of a tree, how it always kind of like jettisons
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And but then also a bridge here in Austin called Pennybacker Bridge,
Mhm.
and it has the arches above the bridge. And so if you were to take these huge arches that spans across a big, well, it's a lake, but it's a river.
Uh-huh.
And if you were to invert those, it would just again be that kind of like inverted, arch outward. So it's really a mix of both of those that I was trying to, like, okay, I want it to tie to Austin, so I want these, like, arches, but also that tree is the trunk, kind of absent space. I've had a number of people say, "Oh, it's an hourglass. I get it," and that was never one of the ideas. Yeah,
Not quite, almost,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I like the
yeah.
tree explanation better. It's such a unique, very simple yet profound design. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. When I was coming up with it, I had to, I got it trademarked, and I had to go through a process to make sure. What is that brand? Hurley. So Hurley has a somewhat similar mark,
Yeah.
in the same kind of design. It's different, it's thicker, and so forth. But I had to make sure that there wasn't going to be any challenges or infringements
Oh
on
wow.
that mark or anything like that. But it was fine because it's different enough. Yeah.
That's good. Different, completely different um, target audience as well. So
Yeah.
it's good you
Yeah.
didn't have any issues with that.
Yeah.
I did you. I read that you had done some sketches. You kept a sketchbook for your designs, and you said they were rough sketches. Do you have any training as an artist? Are you naturally
No.
talented?
No. so so as I mentioned, I was a collector. I loved, you know, like I loved putting little details in the watches. Little things that you may not notice right away, but that you find over time, or something, you have to really kind of get a loop on and look at, or something like that.
Uh huh.
Um, but I always kept a notebook of different design ideas. And when I really started kind of formulating like the brand, as I was doing my research and trying to figure navigating through this stuff, I started just making rough sketch ideas. Okay, I want this brand to be, inspired by Austin, because anytime I travel for my software business and I say I'm from Austin, people would just instantly light up. They would instantly like Austin, or talk about Austin, or say they're going to Austin. So I definitely want Austin to be infused into this brand in some capacity. So I would come up with different, like, historical, either figures or places or things in Austin, and think about it and, like, okay, that could be this style of watch, and let me kind of scratch out, if you will, what it is. And so I still do that today. I still take a piece of graph paper and come up with an idea, and that idea usually comes while I'm running, and think about, okay, what if I did this? And then I just literally start kind of chicken scratching it on graph paper. And then they get a little bit more technical. Then I work with someone to make some renders of that. Okay, no, it's not quite right. I want it to be this. I want it to be that. And then I have kind of a representation of what I'm looking for.
Okay.
But yeah, I have a notebook, a couple of them, of just different ideas, like even hand designs. Oh, this would be cool if I did this hand design, fashioned after this thing in Austin, or
Yeah.
this rotor design fashioned after this thing in Austin. So I'm always kind of coming up with those things and jotting them down, and seeing where they ever come out in the end as some
Right.
sort of a production thing.
And we've had some comments down below about Austin. They're glad you tied it to Austin. I've never been to Austin, but
Hmm.
I've watched Austin City Limits on I forget what channel it was. So Austin is a very hip, would you say, a very forward-thinking town?
I mean, I think it's very fast growing. All right. So, like, there's a saying in Austin, keep Austin weird. That was a fundamental part of Austin for a long, long time. And Austin did things like, they would they would never take any funding to build roads, because they were like, if we don't build roads, people won't come here. That was the mindset. So we're not going to take any funding to build any roads. People kept coming. It's a big university town. So the
Hmm.
students, they come here, they don't want to leave. And so the population just keeps growing. And so it used to be a very, kind of kitschy, fun, very, very, it's a very liberal town, especially in terms of Texas. But it's now, over the last 10 years, it's grown so much that it's very much become, a tech spot. There's a big, huge financial firm that just announced they're moving here. So we're starting to see even other types of industries. So, what used to be a couple of 100,000 person, town, is now 2 point some million.
Oh wow.
And so it's just grown a lot, but there are still little fibers of Austin in it, and it's still beautiful. It's hotter than hell right now, but it's still beautiful. There's rolling hills, lakes, and stuff like that. So when folks come here, the people are great. I mean, Texans are just super, super nice and friendly. They're every morning, everything's howdy and what's going on, how you doing? And so it's a real friendly place, but it's also a beautiful place. So if you like outside stuff, there's a lot to do. Really good food, really good music. It's kind of known, to have a big music scene. So it has a lot to offer, but it is growing so much that it's very much turning in from a town to a city very rapidly.
Right. So we do have our first question down below from Ratty Bell. Are you ever going to bring back the day-date Barton Springs 2 in black?
Oh, yeah. So the Barton Springs is one of my divers. I have two of them. One's 39 mil, one's 42. The 42 mil is the Barton Springs, and it's been sold out for a bit, and it is coming back. The fourth version of it is coming back later in the probably late fall, early winter.
Okay.
So stay tuned. It's coming back. Yeah.
All right. So there you go, Ratty Bell. Make sure you're there for the pre-order. Get your Barton Springs. What's it like working with your son?
It's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got three boys, and I never, wanted any of them to feel in any way forced to do something they don't want to do. So I didn't kind of set this, this brand and this company up to be a family thing. It's just kind of evolved into that.
Uh-huh.
And, my oldest, he'll be 26 here in a few months. He just came to me and said, I'm not getting very many hours at my job. Do you have any little odds and ends things that I could do? I was like, sure, come on in and I'll start showing you some stuff. And before that, my two of my sons would come with me to some of the watch shows, like Wind Up in Chicago and things like that. So they had to learn how to talk about the parts and the pieces and the product and the pricing. And it was kind of fun. But that was, for me, being a sales guy, I love sitting back and watching them, seeing how they would interact with people, because it's such to me, a critical thing is to know how to be personable with folks and things like that. So that was fun. But then he started, kind of saying, this is more interesting than what I thought it would be. I'm actually really interested in this. And so it's been over a year now, and he's been learning just a ton. And if you do follow the brand, he just got back a couple weeks ago from Switzerland.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So he's come back super, super energized. My wife and I were just talking earlier, and she's just like, you can just tell how much more interested he is. He's just so happy that he went and did that and got to experience it. And he's bringing a lot of that stuff in. So it's been a lot of fun.
So great experience for him. I followed along with that. How proud are you as a dad that he decided to do that, actually went through with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I went with him because I had a couple other things to do, right? And so I basically dropped him off in the middle of nowhere on the Switzerland-French border with complete strangers who are professional watchmakers. Right? I mean, how intimidating is that?
Oh my.
And he just knocked it out of the park. He just did so good, learned so much, and just was a sponge. And it's very, very hard, to find coachable people. Okay, a lot of people kind of set their ways and they didn't do that wrong, and it's someone else's fault and whatever. He's not that way. He's very, very open to it, very coachable from that perspective. And so he went into it with his eyes wide open, going, I'm going to learn every single thing I can and try to bring back, to the shop things that I learned. And I said, and hopefully teach me. Right. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted him to learn some stuff that I'm just not aware of because I'm self-taught. And so it was great. It was actually a great experience. And one of the biggest parts of, I guess, pride for me is that in one of the weekends, he, got on a bus and took a train and went and explored. Nice. And again, that's the best part of, to me, the best kind of education is just going somewhere and being curious and exploring. So he just had a great time.
That's awesome. I can't imagine being able to do that. Is there any plan in the near or distant future for him to design one of yours?
I mean, we'll see. He helps around the shop a lot, and he's about to help more because we're about to move everything.
Right.
But he's really good at following that sequence of assembly, and really good at making sure, because sometimes you'll assemble a piece and you get it together, you think you got it clean, you regulate it, and it's perfect. You're about to put that case back on for the last turn, and then you see a little tiny piece of lint. And I don't have to tell him, you got to take it apart, man.
Yeah.
Start over. He already knows. He's like, oh,
Nice.
missed something. So, that's a good sign, if you will. He's not
Yeah.
doing this just to do it. I think he actually is taking some pride in it. So
He is literally living it,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
is amazing.
So we'll see. Maybe, when they were kids, they made some, crayon designs and stuff like that, because I just love watches. But
Right.
we'll see if that's something that he has a skill in or has a desire to do.
I think that is very cool, and I can't wait to see his development and journey within your company, and what he brings to it, because I'm sure he's already, from being there, like you said, energized and got all of these ideas swimming around in his head. But then he's still got to put together the watches.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
for
awesome.
sure.
So let me take you back. Let me take you back to when you first started. Um, what was one mistake that you made that you thought that made you think this isn't going to happen? This is it.
Mm,
Was there one?
I don't think like when I decided to move forward with it, and maybe it's because of the way that I did it, meaning I wasn't reliant upon it working from the get go, because I was like I mentioned, I still had a job. I was gainfully employed, so I could experiment and make mistakes, and it didn't cost the whole the whole kit and caboodle. I was like, all right, I just won't do that anymore. Okay, that's not a good method of marketing. So like there wasn't anything that I thought, ooh, I'm on the verge of losing it all, because I made this, whatever misstep or calculated wrong or what have you. So it wasn't anything like that really. I mean, I made plenty of mistakes and trying to figure out and how to navigate things, and bad decisions on should I do this or should I do that. But none of it was so detrimental, because yeah, I could afford to make that mistake. That I started small. I didn't put didn't push all my chips, onto black and say, hopefully it works out. I went very, very slow, very shoestring budget, and tried to learn from those mistakes, and then not repeat them.
Right. So let me do a quick reset. We've got some other people that joined. John joined. Tony, Storytelling Watches, joined us. It's okay, Tony. You're allowed to be late. Sometimes, we have to pay attention to our significant others. I said John joined. Ari likes watches. Upstate Watch Geek says, hey.
Hey, there he is.
Wristwork joined. Bobby N sent some fireworks. So we've got a pretty full comment section. What's up, Jake from Evil Watches? I see you down there. So the reset is this. Tonight, we're Beyond the Bezel. Stephen Lee, owner, founder, DuFrane Watches, based in Austin, Texas. And Stephen, could you shout out your website for us, please?
Yeah, it's DuFrane, DuFrane watches.com.
Okay.
Real straightforward. DuFraneWatches.com. Yep.
And if you have not yet been to Stephen's website, DuFraneWatches.com, you need to go there. Like if you're on a phone right now and you have a computer easily accessible to you, you need to go there. You need to look at his watches. You need to look at the specs, which we're going to get into. But you have to see them. They're tremendous. So down below, where are you watching from? I want to know. And if you're down below, do you own a DuFrane watch? I know that Tony P owns a DuFrane watch. He showed it off today. I think it was the field watch he showed off today.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful watch. And who has never heard of DuFrane? If you've been living under a rock, who has never heard of DuFrane? Who has never heard of DuFrane? Let me know down
There's going to
below.
be a lot of folks that not heard of DuFrane. Come on now.
So let's go ahead.
As I say, there's a question there. Any new watches coming up that you can share?
Nice.
Okay. Well, there's this year is my and I don't want to get in front of anything, but like this year is my 10-year anniversary year. So in February was my 10-year anniversary. So I released a limited edition chronograph back then. I released a new dress watch called the Westlake. I re-released a new GMT. Just actually yesterday we started delivering them. A GMT Littlefield. So like this year has been very, very busy with either new or re-releases. And then later this year, I have the Barton Springs, another diver, and another 42 mil GMT coming. So there's the Barton Springs. Nobody's seen what that's going to look like yet because it's completely new colors that are coming. And then the GMT, nobody's seen those yet because they're, again, brand new. They're brand new designs of an older model, but that'll be later in the year as well. So still 2 more pieces to release this year, as well as a collaboration I do with a local artist here in town. Nice. Where she hand paints the dials. It's actually my wife. And so she hand paints dials, and we do about 20 of those each fall. So this year has been busy. I don't know what I have any business doing, moving the whole operation, but I am.
It'll keep you busy, and when you're done with all that hard work, it'll be well worth it. I've been following a lot of that too. And if you don't follow Stephen on here, it's just at DuFrane, right?
Yeah.
On TikTok. Go follow him. The stories are great. You can follow along. He's moving his showroom right now, and you might even get to see a picture of him with his hat off if you go on there. We do have something from John down below. John's one of the bigger creators here on TikTok Watch Talk. He says, I enjoy your designs. How do you think being in Texas influences your design?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of it for sure. Because I mean, everything is themed after or kind of inspired by some sort of Austin historical landmark or figure. And so there's always a Texas star on the watch. It may be just on the case back. It may be on the full case back. It may be a little star in kind of the print around the case back. But I mean, the colors are a lot of times, so the original version of a model, the colors are pulled from that particular thing. So I'll give you an example. My original version of the Travis, there were colors that were inspired by the lake area. So Travis is the name of our reservoir, Lake Travis.
Yeah.
So there was a juniper for the green juniper trees. There was a sky blue. There was a dusk for kind of a darker kind of evening kind of look over the lake. So like all of them are inspired by the original colors. Now, when I do the second batch or third batch, then I go off the rails and just decide to throw whatever color I want. But yeah, there's absolutely a lot of inspiration and choices made, directly from, call it Austin or Texas.
Great question, John. And we do have a lot of fans or new fans down below. Aunt Kiki says, I want the Travis in saddle brown. Same, Kiki. It's a beautiful watch. So I love your company motto, right? Let me read it so I get it right. History remembers those who are a little bit different. So where did that come from? And what does it mean to you and your brand personally?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a play on what I mentioned earlier about Austin, keep Austin weird, right? It's not quite the same, but I mean, think of just, to me, I have no business starting a watch brand. I have no experience with it, no knowledge of the production. Like I have no business starting a watch brand. But if I didn't, then I wouldn't be here today. So I just think that, when you get, it's a little bit of just get out of your comfort zone and go try something. and my watch designs are not, they may not be everybody's cup of tea, but they're what I like, and I think they're a little bit, a little bit different. My diver bezels don't have a lot of graduation marks on it. They're very, very sterile, very, very clean.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit of a nod to Austin, keeping it weird, but a little bit of a nod to just like, if you don't, if you don't do something, if you don't do something different,
Yeah.
it's not that you need to be remembered, but you may not be happy not trying it,
Yeah. So you've talked about your sketchbook, and you get ideas when you're running, and you have all these designs. How do you know when the watch design is finished, how you want it?
Um, it's interesting. So I will usually settle on it in a fairly quick fashion, and then move it through, into production. But I always take feedback. Okay. I always hear what people are telling me or commenting or, asking if it will do this or have that. And so then the next batch, sometimes I incorporate some of that.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it is not that it may be unfinished per se, but I have a pretty, I don't know, I don't struggle too much with like thinking, okay, it's done. I may tweak it a little bit and make this bigger than that, and shrink that down there or whatever. But I don't have too much of a challenge going, okay, I think this one's, this model, and let's move to production.
Right.
So hopefully that works for folks.
Right. Have you ever over designed a watch and thought, I got to take it back? Move it back a little bit too much?
Yeah. It was one of the first ones, the Barton Springs, actually. So in my showroom, I have a little, I call it the DuFrane Museum. That sounds way grander than what it is.
No, it sounds like it should be there.
But there's a little sampling of different pieces that were either out of circulation, previous models, or original prototypes or samples. And there are 2 Barton Springs in there that I made samples of, which was going to be a piece that I would produce after the Bergstrom. But I mean, I thought the design was good. I made the samples, I got them in, and I looked at them, and I was like, it's just not quite there.
Yeah.
And so I actually, that was, I got a buddy that lives in New York, and I took the pieces and went up to his apartment, and over a weekend we just sat down, and because he was a big watch guy, a vintage guy, and I was like, what is it that you like about, divers, and what do you think are unique characteristics? So I just tried to get more feedback to kind of arm myself with some changes. Mm-hmm. And out of that came kind of the Barton Springs model that, that has been around for a bit. So there's 2 of these original designs, and they look nothing like the current Barton Springs design. I also tried to incorporate, so some of the markers were hashes and some of them were circles, and I made 3 of them circles. All the rest were kind of hashes. Mm-hmm. And that meant nothing to anybody, but it meant everything to me, because those were for my 3 boys.
Oh, nice.
But again, as I was looking at it, I was like, some people are going to be really put off by this misbalance. There's lines and dots, and it means nothing.
Right. So, and even though you want to include them, and it's very special to you, you're still in the business of selling watches.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that would limit that, and that was when it was, early on. Like, I had just released the Bergstrom, and I was kind of working on a diver, so I knew I needed to, kind of pull the reins back on that a little bit.
Right. We have some comments. Let me know how you feel about this one from Texas Hiker Girl. Time for a UT watch.
Yeah. So I should let a little secret out. So that's actually my mom.
Oh, is it? Oh.
She may not want me saying that.
Well, Steven's mom, welcome to the live. And you know what? I think it might be time for a burnt orange watch if Mom says so. Right?
Well, so here's an interesting thing. There is. Look, I'll just pull something out here real quick. So there is the Travis, and it's really interesting how this comes out, because again, there's a story to everything. This is the Travis diver, and this is called the
Yeah.
40 acres. Okay,
Okay.
so the 40 acres was the original campus that University of Texas was on. And so
Okay.
folks that have gone to UT, they know what 40 acres means. So this Pantone is the exact orange Pantone of the University of Texas.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I went to the UT marketing, website, pulled the Pantone because there's no copyright with that. It's just a color. It's not anything specific other than a color. And that's what I launched with this particular watch. I don't know, a year or so ago. What I didn't, and when I got it, and I don't know if you know UT colors, but the UT color is more of a burnt orange.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to my production partner, and I was like, that looks kind of like Tennessee. That's not necessarily, he's like, well, some of the, hues on brass versus textile, you might get a little bit of color change from
Yeah.
that. The bezel sapphire. And so again, that may change a little bit. And I was like, okay. I mean, if you're saying that's the Pantone, that's the Pantone. That's what it is. Well, I learned that the University of Texas, this was their original color. And then there was a coach several decades ago that decided he wanted to tweak that color a little bit to look a little bit more like a football. And so when his players were carrying the football, you wouldn't be able to see the football against this color. And
Oh, wow.
that was the burnt orange color that now UT is known for.
Oh, wow.
But
I did not know that. And I'm a
this
football fan.
I didn't know it either until I found this out. But this is still the original UT color. That's why that
Right.
Pantone came out the way it did.
Love that story. So with your mom being in the chat, she's gonna hear you. Any plans in the future for a ladies' watch in your line?
I have. To me, I mean, it's my own personal opinion, but to me, women's watches or men's watches is kind of a size thing. For a lot of people, not everybody. Some folks want really small. They want a pearl, mother of pearl dial. They want diamonds, or so that I'll never do. But I just released a model called the Westlake, which is a 36 mil piece, very, very, very thin, and that one has definitely been more popular with women. Now, I do have, several women that not several, a lot of women that like some of the other models, but they have to like a big watch, right? So it's got to be, in your opinion, you like a big watch, and that's a good thing. But 36 is the smallest that I'll produce. But I just haven't categorized them as either men or women, and not because I think that there aren't men's and women's watches. It's just I thought, oh, these are just watches, and if you like it, then you like it. Put it on.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
We do have a comment down below from Meh. I'm in Austin frequently. Can I drop into your shop or make an appointment? That goes with what we're talking about tonight with you moving. So maybe answer that for Meh.
Well, Meh. On my website there's a tab for called the showroom, and it's pulls up a little calendar, and you can book your own private time. So it's a private setting. There's it's your own time. There's no one else in there. So we hang out. You get a look at the watches. If you want, you walk away with one. If you don't, you just get a good sense of what it looks like, take some wrist shots, and put it on your list maybe. But yes, it's bookable through the third week of August right now. The fourth week of August, I'm moving the whole showroom to the other facility. And then starting September 2nd, the calendaring, the bookability will come back for the new location. But it's just 30 minute windows. You get to book your time. You can book two windows if you think you got need more than 30 minutes.
Very good. So we got another question down below. Great question from John. How did the nod from Teddy B impact your business?
Yes, it's funny. I've known Teddy a long time. So Teddy, when he first launched, he carried my watches on his website in a drop ship fashion. And so every now and then he would shoot me a note and say, "Hey, can we get one of your pieces and we'll do a review?" Because he used to have two different channels. And so when he first did that thing with Kevin, and Trafford, the year before, Trafford kind of won that little contest with Mr. Wonderful. It really, really changed Nathan's business, like tremendously. Nathan Trafford Watches,
Right.
you can't even get one now, and so it dramatically changed his business. Um, my business, it's definitely impacted it, but I only produce about 1,200 pieces a year, right? And so when that particular model sold out, it may be sold out for just like the Barton Springs. When it's sold out until I get to make more and bring it back. And then the next model may be sold out for a while until I, bring that one back. So it's impacted it just because I mean, Teddy's channel is amazing and his
Yeah.
reach is tremendous. And so it's, brought great exposure to the brand. I've had countless people come in and schedule appointments. And they're like, I learned about you from Teddy.
Nice.
So it's been fantastic, but my brand will only be a certain size for a very specific reason, and
Right.
so it's not like it's made a huge impact on like sales, or I mean it has, but like I'm only going to sell a certain number. That's it. That's all I'm going to sell.
Right. Um, I had a question, and it just flew out of my mind. There it is. Um, so, your watches, they tell stories about Austin, and I think that's fantastic. I love that. Can you talk to us about the Waterloo? What's the
Mhm.
story behind the Waterloo?
Yeah, so Waterloo is actually the original name of Austin. Okay, so it was named Waterloo for I think 3 months, very, very little. But for some reason, that name has kind of stuck around Austin. So there's a Waterloo Ice House, there's Waterloo Records, there's water called Waterloo. Like
Yeah.
that name has just kind of stuck. When I was designing the first one was the Pilot Watch Bergstrom, the second one was the Diver Barton Springs, and then I wanted to do kind of a more dressy watch,
Hmm.
and not a complete dress watch, but a dressier kind of a dressy sport watch. That's where I was like, okay, Waterloo's original name, very clean, very simple. I want it to be a very like it was a linen dial texture, the original one, and a stepped bezel, kind of a throwback, old school kind of design. So I just wanted it to be, kind of the way Austin was, just in its original form, just small, simple, clean, and that's kind of what inspired some of those
Right.
decisions for that design. Yeah.
So, let's talk about all your watches as a whole here, real quick. And it's a specific question. Is there some kind of a design um, detail? To you is a design detail that is on one of your watches that you're very proud of that you think people would miss?
Mm. Um, I'm not sure. I mean, so there are some little. Do you mean in general, like a design, like philosophy, like a Bauhaus, or like a specific design philosophy, or do you mean like a detail within the watch
Yeah,
that's supposed to be kind of a little Easter egg,
a
and if you
detail.
see it, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So depending on the model, I've done that across different models from time to time. Like on one of the versions of the Bergstrom, in very small print, I engraved on the ratchet wheel some coordinates. And if you were to take and punch those coordinates in, it would take you directly to the Bergstrom Airport,
Oh,
right?
nice. That's pretty
The
cool.
the current Westlake model, the current dress piece, it's called Brunch Blue. There's three colors: Brunch Blue, Hill Country Wine, and Fairway Green. And on the ratchet wheel, we took them off and we engraved a coffee cup, a wine glass, and a golf club to kind of denote the three different pieces. It's not heavy engraving, so you kind of have to hold it at the right angle to
Look
see
at
it.
it.
Right. So just a couple of little things like that I've done more lately than I did previously. And, dials going forward are going to start saying Austin built. And so Again, not huge print, but just a little nod to kind of what we're doing down here. So yeah, there's some little characters, little Easter eggs like that.
I'm a big fan of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I love
Oh yeah.
those. And I guess it makes me happy that you put them on there, because I think it's such a cool touch. So you've been on over an hour now. Seems like 5 minutes. This time has flown by. I want to ask you a question, but I also want to invite some people on, if that's okay with you. So
for sure.
Okay, fantastic. So if you want to be on, go ahead and send me a request. I'm just going to invite some people as well, a couple to start, and then we'll move on from that. The question that I'm going to ask you while I'm making that transition is, because I've looked at the specs on your watch, right? What made you decide to go with the Elaboré instead of the premium or the standard?
Yeah.
The Elaboré in the middle. What made you decide to go with that?
I mean, it is a very well engineered, movement. I mean, it's so tunable. Like you can time and regulate those things, and I've had them come back 4 or 5 years later and they're still running, exactly the same, +2 or what have you. So it's worth to me, if it depends on what, sometimes it's a matter of what I'm buying, but I buy always the Elaboré grade of the SW200. Because it's a phenomenal movement and it's well worth the money. The price jump to then top is, depending on, like I said, what I can source, is sometimes worth it, but sometimes it's maybe not worth it to increase the price of the watch,
Right.
just to have something that I can already do in house here and make it run +2.
Right.
So some of it's, a little bit of like what I'm sourcing and what I want the performance to be. So it's not. I mean, it's just the Solita movements are just phenomenal. I just can't, speak highly enough about them.
They are. I have a few of those, but what I noticed the most about that was I was reading the specs coming out of the box. They are ±7 to 20 seconds, and you tune them down to ±2 to 4 seconds a day. How difficult is that? What's the process? Don't give away any trade secrets, but how difficult is that?
I mean, if anybody here's ever, opened the case back and looked at the movement and the balance, and you can see, how there's a little tiny screw that you can do, and you can regulate them and time them. It's like anything. I think that the more you do it, the easier it is. You know what I mean? The more you get attuned to kind of how to do it. So it's not. I mean, I don't think it's that hard. And so to me, it's just my opinion. Everyone should do it, but I also think everyone should have a adjustable micro adjustment. Everybody should have removable, end links.
Yeah. And those are some other specs that you have on your watches. Talk to us about the 10 millimeters that you have in your micro adjust on the bracelet.
Yeah, it's just coming from, again, a watch collector. Those were some things that I thought were worth the money in production to make it easier to especially here in Texas. Your wrist changes when you go outside and it's 98, and then you're inside and it's 74. Your wrist is just constantly changing all day long. And so having that micro adjustment is just it's just a usability thing. It just makes it more fun.
Tony's got the Velcro.
That strap works good too in that.
Yes, it does. Yes,
so we've got some guests on the panel now, and the panel's full right now. So we have Tony P, Jake from Evil Watches, Mike the Watch Heretic, Jay and Mom Bot goes by Dom, right? All right. Bobby N and John. Thank you all for joining us. Now, I have so many questions, but I want to give others an opportunity to pick the brain of Stephen. So does anybody have one right now, or just a question burning a hole in your pocket?
I will, since I'm in construction and you're building a new showroom. I just want to know, how's that going?
It's going. I was over there earlier today, nailing up trim and putting caulking in and getting some final paint, on the trim and stuff. So, we'll be in the assembly facility, the assembly room of the new thing next week. So we're going to start building the Westlake pieces out of the new place. So it's coming along. The showroom will take a little bit longer because there's custom cabinetry, and if you're in construction, you know how long that'll take, Tony.
Yeah, I got 3 weeks till my job's in. I'm still waiting on my cabinets.
There you go.
I know. I just want to.
That's the only question I had. I want to hear everybody else's questions. Dude, principal, you can drop me and let somebody else in. But Steven, it's always a pleasure to see you, sir.
Prende la cámara.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So
I was
DuFrane Watches.
Go ahead, John.
Austin, Texas.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering. So I'm going to come down next month and see you at Heartland.
Oh, good. Okay.
And see Jerry and Steve Laughlin and those guys. I'm not too far away from them.
Great guys.
I was wondering about those smaller shows like that. If it's for brands, is it really more about networking? Do you see much traction from those shows, or is it more just about connecting to people?
Yes. It's all of that. So, some of those shows are just so much fun because the especially like that one. So Heartland, they started it last year. So we went to the show with zero expectations of knowing, other than there aren't very many shows in that part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's none. And so our kind of thought well, this is great because I don't get to talk to folks live in the central part of the country. So for me, it's just about that, just sharing the brand, and then interacting with folks. And then the brand owners are just awesome. I just have so much fun with those guys. They're all in it for the right reasons. I mean, Jerry and Steve, and just there's so many guys that are just awesome, and they're fun to hang out with. So that's a great show, and it's a new venue this year. I think it's going to be a little bit larger, so it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you. That's great.
Yeah,
I've
hung out a lot with Jerry and Steve over the years, so it's fun to go to that show. So
yeah, no doubt.
Great question, John.
I got a great knife from Steve.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy one this year, I think. Yeah.
They're great. Yeah, they're great.
And if I do invite you and you can't, just let me know in the comments, and then I'll move on to the next person. Heron and Kite says DuFrane legend. Adrian is in the house from Karen and Height, right? Heron and Kite. So I want to ask Dom a question. Dom, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I was hoping that you would have a question. Can you tell us a little bit about what your background? Do you know Stephen, and what's your background? And why did I put you on the panel tonight?
Oh, so where to start? Well, I'm having the pleasure now of meeting Stephen firsthand, but I have heard of you for sure. And I did have a question. That's to answer your first or second thing. And then as for my background, it is in luxury watches, more the corporate side, marketing, and working with independents. My start was in MB&F Mad Gallery, actually, which, if you're familiar, amazing.
Yep.
And helping launch that in Dubai, the branch in Dubai, and kind of introducing that new concept of mechanical art instead of luxury. Repositioning, and so then because of that experience, because I came from an art background, so because of that experience, when I was promoted to corporate, I then started working more, like that was kind of being used on a more widespread scale for the other independent brands, that kind of strategy of storytelling and really just bringing forward the watchmakers and identity forward alongside the masterful pieces, but just to add more depth to it. And so that was kind of being used more widespread. And then I started working on forums with brand executives, even, you know, the CEO of AP, for example, you know, not just independent brands, but basically the watch industry management, as well as founders, of course, independent brand founders, creative directors, but also people from other industries. So pioneers and thought leaders and people just kind of from creative industries, or even we even had one forum. We had the consul general of the U.S. embassy, you know, in Dubai. Like, and another time we had a master chef alongside Philippe Dufour.
Yeah,
you know.
that's cool. Yeah.
So having like a mix of different backgrounds, but leaders in that area, and just kind of to talk about common issues, because the watch industry does, at least the international watch industry based in Switzerland, is more, and this is kind of stemming from the quartz crisis, is more kind of guarded in terms of gatekeeping and, you know, keeping trade secrets, but also kind of trying to represent a united front in order to keep the industry alive and going. And so it really helped getting, you know, leaders from other industries to kind of talk about better practices and so forth, without making it about a certain brand or a certain person or identity, but rather making it a, you know, what can we do better as a whole, and let's collaborate with other industries. So my question is, and that's a very long-winded way of trying to get to my question, which is, what do you think of the Swiss watch industry as an American? Because you American, and I'm talking now from the position of being in that position, you Americans, okay, you American watchmakers astound me, and you American watch enthusiasts really astound me. Because for years we were trying to get what you guys have been doing, which is a vibe, a hype online. That has been the crux of the issue in this Swiss international watchmaking industry. I'm telling you firsthand, this is not an observation. This was a struggle that I and my colleagues across the board, not just in my company, because as a distributor, the distributor that I worked for, we had to collaborate with all the Swiss brands. And it was and still is constantly this question of, how do we get people excited online, excited enough to want to care enough to give their opinion, be excited about it. And you guys just are masters at it. So what would you borrow? Yeah, what would you borrow?
I mean, I think, no, I think part of it is just, you know, the American mindset of just, hey, look at me. I mean, I don't know. There's, we also don't really know, maybe we don't have the same heritage to I don't know what to say about this. Meaning, if we make a mistake, it doesn't cost our brand 150 years of heritage that they were known for a certain thing. Okay. And so we're kind of, you know, at least I'm speaking for myself, just kind of navigating and figuring out which turn to take as it comes in front of me. I don't have a map for this. I'm not necessarily trying to emulate anyone. I wasn't sure when I started my brand, do I want it to be about we or I? And that was a big decision I made about, I'm going to make this about I. It's not we are building this and we are doing this and we're just this guarded container that no one gets access to. It's going to be just me. And I mean, so I think I have a tremendous amount of respect, and I don't know if you heard or not, but I got back not too long ago from Switzerland. I went to DuFrane. I went to Sellita. I sat down with the CEO of Sellita. Like, I was granted access that I honestly didn't think I would have access to, but I think things are kind of changing a little bit. I mean, I'm just an outsider looking in. I honestly did not think I would get access to these facilities, and especially the people that I got access to. And it was really refreshing. It was very, very refreshing. I was very, very impressed. Now, this online persona and presence and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I can guarantee you most of the folks in the channel here, they would love to hear, I don't know, someone from Rolex talk truthfully about what it is that they're doing, or Audemars Piguet. They would love to know some watchmaker sitting on a bench showing them how. I mean, we just want to eat this stuff up. Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, thank you. That's such good, refreshing information for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a great model for that has been, from what I've seen, like Moser, for instance. You know, they really get out there and connect with people. Like Zach, who's on Traumatic on this app. He, he bought one Moser, and he's invited to all the parties, and he knows the owners, and or at least the president. I'm not sure, but anyway, he's connecting with them on a regular basis now, just from buying one watch. Yeah. And I think that kind of personal connection makes a huge difference in the perception of the brand.
It's also, I totally agree with you, John. Sorry to interject, but just to add to that, it is about relationships and the kind of making it personal. And when you make it personal, how do you then how do you advertise that over social media or a platform? How do you, so that's kind of the problem there. So I feel like, being able to connect with someone culturally, there is a big cultural divide because the way that it is done. Yeah, Moser, this man invested a lot of money, and he must have passionately really cared about it to, really invest in every way. And that's why you kind of it's like getting an in, because you invested that, like a friendship. And so it's quite deep and meaningful in that sense, like a true friendship in the way that that industry is used to, based on what I'm observing.
Yeah. So we had Justin Scrubs and Seconds join us. Welcome in, Justin.
Hey guys, how you doing? By the way, I love that artwork you have behind you. It's really cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
So
it's one of my wife and I's favorite artists. He generally paints these little tiny bunnies, but he also paints other things. But yeah, he's fun.
It's a great way to frame your picture. It looks great. I love it.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me to chime in,
you go right ahead.
Relationship formation happens a lot also in this space, right? Because we see the different brands and owners reach out to the community, right? And to listen to what they're doing and to listen what they're asking, and they participate in forums like this. So probably in the past 2 weeks, we have seen the people, I think, from Trafford. We have seen Anita and Jose from Santurce, and they're really contacted everybody either by chat in their events or through forums in this way to either, as a good practice, have ears on the ground to listen what their market and their target is asking. And I think the side effect is that you create relationships and you make yourself better known through that. And there's no better story when you have a watch saying, hey, you see this watch? Oh yeah, I met the person who did this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's that is also a conversation started from the community when people that they don't use watches, they say, oh, what is that? And you're like, oh, well, I met the person who did this, or I met the person who started this company. So
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'm a watch nerd. At the end of the day, I've got a big watch collection. I need to sit down and go through them and see if Andy will judge my collection one day. But I'm the same way. If I've got I want to be treated the same way that I want to sell, or vice versa. I want to sell the same way that I am treated. And when I started this thing, and one of the reasons why I'll only sell, around that 1,200 piece mark is that anytime someone hits the little chat on my website, they're going directly to my phone. Anytime someone emails me, it's going directly to me. Anytime somebody calls, it's going directly to me. Anytime they go in the showroom, they're going to see me. I don't scale. I can't do that if I'm selling 5, 7, 10,000 watches. And I don't want to do that. I love the engagement. I love hanging out with folks. And I'm just very, very fortunate, very blessed. I don't need to run the company as this mass profit-making industry for me. That part of my life is over. This is meant to be fun. This is meant to be connecting with folks. I mean, it's killing me that I'm not in, like doing a whole lot in the showroom. I'm literally blocking out windows so I can go build this new place, but I just don't have the bandwidth to do both at the same time. So that's just a big part of what I wanted the brand to be about was, the customer experience I could control. I can't tell you, Tony, if you're going to like the diver. I can't tell you, John, if you're going to like the what. You know what I mean? Those are personal decisions. You're going to like it or not. But I sure as hell can make it but I can make it a great experience for you. And then if something goes wrong, and sometimes it does, I'm going to take care of it. And those are the things that like I said, when I'm buying, that's what I want. So I'm just trying to emulate that same thing.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for making people feel comfortable, making people feel valued. And I've talked about it a little bit on some of my posts, the difference in the way I was treated when I went into the Rolex AD and when I went into the Patek AD. The Patek AD was like walking into a home that someone I was very close to, took care of all my needs. They knew damn well I wasn't going to buy a watch. But they still took care of everything. I don't think the Rolex people really met that same level.
Again, let me chime in, but all that is part of your global vision, right? So they might say, hey, if he doesn't buy the watch, he's going to talk about it, right? Yeah. Right there. You have marketing money without intending to do that, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we got it from somebody who doesn't have a watch, but he will create or sustain the image. For the other side, with the smaller brands, I think when you're competing with this set of big brands that have a lot of money investors behind, you have to have a value proposition that maximizes whatever your strengths are. So one of those strengths is that you have the chance to be your customer to have access to you. So might as well, this is seeing it from the business perspective. That is an asset that you have. That is a value proposition that it is valued by the community and that people really appreciate. The notes, right? When you buy some brands, they send you a personalized note. Hey, thank you for supporting me. That adds a level, right? And where did we learn about this? I'm telling you, we had the experience with Etsy, right? Where a lot of people are creating artifacts in an artisanal way. And when you purchase from there, you get all this, little things that say this is not coming necessarily from an assembly line, but from a person behind all this.
A creator.
So that's the value added that you are putting into the product, right? Same experience with what you said with Vacheron. You can go in, they will treat you well, marketing dollars there. We don't mind if they already accounted for that, right? That not everybody that walks in is going to do it, but might as well take the opportunity and let's make sure they echo the name and the experience and the hype of the brand.
Right.
Well, so one of the things that I would like to point out, and taking into account what was said earlier, it is also within the American culture. So if you look back in history, the hot rod, for example, the hot rod movement on cars, it is exactly the same thing. It's small people building their very specialized cars. And some of them actually, they decide to go beyond just, in your case, the 1,200 watches a year. Some of them would decide to go to 10,000. Yes, they lose maybe the contact, but at the same time, they have all these fans around it, and that's what we are. I mean, in this watch community, there's two things that differentiate the Americans from everywhere else. And I've lived in Europe and I've lived in other places. But number one is that the Americans do come up with these small designs because they truly believe that they need to take every one of the shots because they're going to make 1, 2, 3, 10 of them. I actually was listening today in the morning to another video, and he was recounting, percentage-wise, great basketball players or great baseball players, and the percentage that they actually succeeded was very, very small. 9%, 5%, 1%. But they are the ones that are known for everything. In the rest of the world, and I believe it was mentioned also that if you fail, they really beat you up. If you fail in the United States, you get up and you keep on going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a quick reset here. We've got a bunch of people down below in the comments. If you would like to join on the panel, please send me a guest request, and I'll try to get to you. I'm going to rotate some people off the panel. But what I'd like to hear now is we have a fledgling micro brand owner on the panel with us tonight, Jake from DuFrane Watches. Jake, I'd like to hear if you have a question. What are you thinking with being able to meet Stephen?
I hear you.
Well, while he's working on his audio problems, I not more of a question, but I wanted to engage with Stephen as a fellow aviation nerd. So I am a 20-plus year industry veteran in commercial aviation, 4 different airlines. I heard you said that you started off flying Beaches or King Airs. Yeah. My very first airline, we flew Beechcraft 1900s out in the Mountain West. And so I just wanted to say, I really resonated with your aviation background. And as you were talking, I went and looked at your pilot watch, and I did notice also the artificial horizon, and I thought that was a cool touch. But just wanted to nerd out with a fellow aviation guy, so that's
awesome.
Pretty cool.
No, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. Funny enough, you mentioned that. So I come from an aviation family. My dad was the Cessna aircraft dealer and the Bell helicopter dealer for 30 years in Latin America, where I grew up.
Oh, wow.
And I always grew up, actually, one of our logos for the channel is a Cessna 337. So, yeah, interesting.
All right.
What a small world. Yeah.
I think we have Jake live with us now. Bobby, I'm going to rotate you off, and Dom, I'm going to rotate you off. Thank you, guys, for being here. I appreciate it.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
All right, rock and roll. Well, first off, it's not really a question as per se, but your story and my story are damn near identical except for the pilot side of everything. So I would like to get hold of you and talk to you about a bunch of different stuff because I'm literally getting ready to launch a brand next week, my first watch, and have no idea what I'm doing. I just decided one day to start up a micro brand. I think I'm doing a good job at it so far. And knowing your side of the story and everything, I think we could really talk and you answer a lot of questions that I have going on. So
just reach out to me, DM me. Yeah.
Okay,
DM
I will.
Me. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yep. I would love to stay and chat with everybody, but as you can see here behind me, I've got a whole minivan that I had to put back together. So,
all right, Jake.
But
thanks for being
here, guys. And I will. I'll DM you here pretty soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Good luck. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
I wanted to get to that because he's pretty nervous about launching his new brand, and I want to connect him with as many people as I can. So I'm glad he got that opportunity.
And don't be nervous. Just do it.
Yeah,
just go.
Do it.
Just go.
So what's the most challenging thing, Stephen, when you started the micro brand? What was the most challenging thing? Was it manufacturing? Was it cost? Was it design? What was going on with that?
Yeah, it was kind of what I thought was going to be the hardest was the whole production line, the whole trying to figure out how do I and who can I trust. I knew I was going to use Swiss movements, but I wasn't sure how I was going to acquire them, right? And then manufacturing wise, which factories are good, which ones aren't. So like navigating that was not easy. And, that's where I said, like, I made some mistakes and learned from them, and then, met people and really developed good trusting relationships and so forth. So that was a heavy lift, the whole manufacturing, aspect of it. What I didn't realize at the time was no matter how hard that was, it paled in comparison to the marketing and advertising side of things. So, figuring that out, I'm still learning on the whole marketing and advertising side. Like there's no, I didn't go to school for it, so I'm not that, that well educated in it, but there's, it's constantly changing. I mean, I have an agency that helps because so many things change on those platforms. And, my idea of, me sitting in front of a camera, talking to folks about the watches, that's pretty consistent. But how to execute those ads, how to optimize those ads, do people like video? Do people like pictures? Like all of that stuff, I need help because that is just a very, very foreign world to me. But the operational side, production was challenging, but in my opinion, it's nowhere near as hard as finding the right people, finding the audience, how to duplicate that audience, how to successfully start generating revenue. Because everything you're doing at that point is just spending money. You're not making any money yet, and you've spent a lot before you start making any.
So how difficult is the quality control aspect? Because you design it, you're going to get it in. That has to be such a time-consuming process. How frustrating can that be?
Well, if you're going to be in it for the long haul, then you just need to learn to deal with frustrations. I mean, it just happens. It's a complex process. I mean, the exactness of a mechanical watch is exactly that, exact. I mean, it's so if you're doing, something unique, if you are treating the case with a DLC, a diamond-like carbon coating, and the humidity in China, they have a monsoon and the humidity is too high, it messes up the entire batch and you got to start over again.
Yeah.
Like there's things you learn in production that you didn't think you'd have to deal with. And you just learn you have to. And so I've learned to not necessarily start working on my marketing launch events based on timelines that I'm provided from my manufacturing partners when parts and pieces are coming in. I've learned to wait until they're here and then I start scheduling out stuff, because I can't tell you how many times they've far, far, far exceeded what I thought, what I was told was going to happen. But again, I'm not doing this on a whim. I'm doing this, until my old hands can't hold the tools anymore. So I've just learned how to deal with it and kind of navigate around it.
One of the comments down below says, more California dials. I just learned what a California dial was from that particular commenter. What are your thoughts on that? I'll throw Mark a bone, TikTok with Doc. What are your thoughts on those?
He definitely likes them. We chatted about it. So yeah. I mean, I have a piece, my Mabry Field watch. It's a titanium watch. It is a California dial. And again, when I was designing that several years ago, I hadn't seen too many, call it field watches with a California dial. I hadn't seen too many of them. They were very, very kind of standard, idea of the military, kind of design. And so I thought it'd be kind of, different, a little bit different. And so that's why I decided to do that on that one. I can't tell you how many folks come into the showroom and they're like, what is that? I've never seen anything like that. So it's not as well known as I kind of thought it was, but it's super unique. I mean, I just think it's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I just learned what it was. I'm not going to lie. I just learned what it was.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah. Somebody in our community just did a video on it, and they basically taught me what the California dial was, and I immediately started Googling California dials, and the Mabry came up, and I was like, and I was on a live that night with Tony P. And I said, yeah, I've got to have that. I've got to have the Polar Mabry too. And he goes, I got it. And he went like that and showed me his. I was like, okay, yeah, I need that one. That was that's a special looking watch. I love it. I love the bezel on it. I think on the Polar with that it's kind of a grayish bezel, right? If I'm remembering correctly,
it has a compass bezel. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I just the whole look of that. But then I swiped left, and I saw the blue one, and I'm such a sucker for a blue dial. I was like, oh man, now I can't have both of them. I'll be in watch jail for the rest of my life if I buy both of them. But
I learned that term on TikTok. I had no idea what that term meant until a while ago.
What, watch jail?
Watch jail. Yeah.
I'm in it until 27. I can't come out until 27. I've been told it's very clear. I can't buy a Pagani design watch right now. I can't buy anything. So
that happens sometimes. You'll see people talk about that frequently. On this app. We do have a question down below from Bone Crusher 369. Are there even American manufacturing options? Which is a great question. I've always wondered the same thing.
No, there are, and so like there are some brands that do a lot of their own, production. Like RGM is very well known for their American craftsmanship on a lot of their pieces. Weiss, he makes a lot of his components as well. There's a factory in Arizona that's starting to make movement. Well, not starting, they're making movements. They're American assembled movements, but they're not fully American parts. So it's a very, very specific, made in the USA is far more regulated than Swiss made. And so the manufacturing process here is very, very, absent. I mean, I shouldn't say absent. Some of the kind of artistic capabilities like case finishing. Case finishing is an art form. And that art form is in Switzerland, Germany, China. That's where that you have to bring someone in to do that. If you can CNC machine, case blanks here. It's just getting them to the finished, product that looks phenomenal is a bit more challenging. But again, I'm selling $1,000 to $1,500 watches. Okay. If you want to spend $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 and have everything made here, or $100,000, depending on what level you want to go with, like RGM, that can be done, but not at my price point. It's just that manufacturing aspect is just not here right now. It's coming back, but it's just not here right now.
So we have a question from Partner in Time. Go ahead, bud.
All right, so I want to piggyback on this because not too long ago I had a conversation with Peter Cho from Jack Mason about supply chain and having parts made in the States. And let me ask you this: how hard will be working with another micro brands, right? To one, get economies of scale.
Yeah.
To reach the point to have a manufacturer of not necessarily of a full movement, right? Because that will take an incredible capital investment to get going, but at least of some parts. Let's say, why don't we have a company that could make a scale rotors for automatics that could be personalized? And I remember in that conversation, Peter Cho was saying, well, it is incredibly difficult where you were saying there's a lot of regulation. Again, the capital needed for it is large, and it doesn't happen overnight. So the question is, what do you think it will be necessary for the American watch industry to stop relying on Swiss movements, Japanese movements, to start having a little bit, at least some parts or pieces of their own coming in here, right? Because right now, I think we all depend on other movement makers.
Yeah, we don't have a choice. We just don't have a choice. So it's a great question. I mean, I know Peter very well personally. So Peter, Nathan, and I Trafford, Jack Mason, DuFrane, we started this thing that we call the Texas Watchmakers Collective. Okay, and it's we don't exactly know what it's going to truly be yet, other than we just kind of promote each other's brands here in Texas, and we try to share about what's going on in Texas from a watchmaking perspective. But one of the things that we've kind of talked about is, at the very least, what if us three decided to get together and say, hey, for this next year, La Joux Perret or Salida or whoever, we want to buy X number of movements and in bulk to help drive the cost down. If us three got together and did that, could we do something like that as an idea? Now, that doesn't truly get to your question of like, what can we do, here in the States? But I've talked to a couple of, partners and producers that is like, listen, it's, 50 to 75 grand for a CNC machine, and they're going to last for 5 or 7 years. If we had enough brands together and we bought a couple of them, we could start producing cases here. The hard part is, how do we get them properly finished? We'd have to ship them somewhere. And then it becomes a whole economic thing again, right? And so it is, somebody has to do it. It's probably not going to be call it an independent or smaller brand, because like I'm teaching myself how to do perlage. I'm going to start taking movements apart and perlaging them. I'm going to start perlaging the clasps. I'm going to start doing things on my own because I can control that, and it doesn't cost me the same as if I were to say, okay, I want to, start a factory that makes, movements. It's just the capital expenditure for that. So I could see that, like the RGMs and the Weisses and the J. Shapiros, and I could see the independent brands themselves doing more of that in-house, but it's reflective in their price point that you'll see that they're way, way more expensive. I don't have plans to move off of Swiss movements because to me, there's really not much of an alternative. It's just a preference for me to use Swiss. It's not saying anything good or bad about any other manufacturer. I just prefer that. And that's what I've used. And I know those movements. I can tear them down, put them back together. So I'm very comfortable with them, from Salida anyway. But, I wish that when I first started, when I was doing my research, I was trying to find, and I found a guy in Florida that could make maybe 2 or 3 cases a month, right? Like, I was like, oh, you make cases. I'm like, how many could I get? He's like, I could probably get 2 or 3 a month. I was like, oh, well, that won't scale. So it's just hard to find anything here. I mean, we can find, leather craftsmen, we can find leather producers, we can find certain components. But I've just made the decision that I'm going to start trying to take more. I want to start making my own dials. I want to start, doing some things that I can kind of take in-house without inflating it to a $15,000, $20,000 price. I'm not interested in that by any stretch. Yeah, it's just tough.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. That's a
great question. Great conversation. We had a couple people join us. Dave from La Terrain joined us. Thank you, Dave. And Dean Styles and Daily Carey. I'm going to rotate a couple people off. We've got some other people down in the chat. So Partner in Time, Roscoe Time, I think I'm going to rotate you guys off. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Go ahead. Dave, did you have something?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dave, did you have, I saw your eyebrows going up and down.
No, I just love, how Stephen answered that question, because, I mean, that's the same one we get as well, is like, when, can you do anything in America? And especially at my price point, because it's lower than Stephen's, the answer is simply no. There's just nothing out there. And, I hear like, oh, that's CNC machines, and we have that's great, but there's so much more that goes into making a watch than just cutting a case, from a CAD drawing. So, we need a lot here in order to really spin it up. And, then the question becomes, are people going to be willing to pay the extra cost of doing that? Because it's not going to be as cheap as, it's not going to be as affordable, I should say, not cheap. So there's a lot that goes into that consideration, and I just don't know.
Yep.
But I do like what you're doing with your movements, because that really helps to clean up a lot of any issues you may have with variance between manufacturers and getting parts and servicing and all that stuff. It makes a lot of sense to just do one integration with one provider.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Southwest Airlines school of thought. 737s, boom. That's all we got. Our mechanics are trained on it. we know everything about it. Yeah.
And we got Wristwork who joined, and we got Kate who joined as well. So welcome to you. Does anybody else have a question?
I've got one. I've been sitting on the question. Been sitting on it a little while. One of the things I notice when I look at DuFrane watches, I see a consistent design identity across the watches. I can't quite put my finger on it though. I'm wondering, are you conscious and aware of specific design elements you're wanting to work in, or is it just a reflection of your own design aesthetic?
I mean, I think there's a couple things. One is a little simplistic, okay, and two is a thin bezel. So you'll kind of notice that, like the 36 millimeter dress watch, the Westlake, it doesn't look like a 36 millimeter watch because the bezel is so thin. It's a huge dial, and so I always look at a watch wanting to be able to tell the time. Right. And so I want that to be the design has to allow for that. And so I always kind of come up with these design ideas where the dial is the most pronounced thing. The bezel is very thin, even if it's an actionable 24-hour bezel, compass bezel, diving bezel. Just, make it slim and dumb it down a little bit and make the dial and the hands, the most, kind of contrast. Not every single one. The white Mabry is white on white, but like I try to make them, those two kind of characteristics: a thin bezel and, therefore big dial. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
I got a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
Over the last 10 years, what was the biggest gamble you took that worked out? And then what was the biggest gamble you took that didn't work out?
Great question. Like Juns.
It's funny that the gambles are probably not as detrimental as like I said, maybe thinking about okay, I'm going all in and I'm buying 10,000 movements because they're at this price, and I'm going to buy them and I'll sell them all. I never did anything like that.
Yeah.
An example of a gamble that I designed a piece a couple of years ago, a dial color. It's a purple dial. It's called Hill Country Wine, and I put it on my Barton Springs 2. This was several years ago. One of my divers, and my wife looked at it and she said, "Are you insane? Nobody is going to buy a purple watch. Nobody. I mean, I think you're crazy." And I was like, well, I don't know. I never know what people like, so we'll find out. Well, it sold out, and then the next batch sold out. And so like that got me a little nervous because I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe it is kind of a little bit of a stretch to think that somebody would like this colorful dial. Well, I learned from that, like I just got to design and do what I want to do. So I haven't made these huge, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. I haven't made this like push all the chips on and make a huge bet on something. And if it goes south, we got to go live in a tent. I haven't done that yet, but I will say I love bringing up the purple dial story to my wife every now and then.
I bet you do. So does anybody else have a question? Wristwork, have you seen his field watch?
Yes, I was just about to ask that. So I'm definitely a fan of your field watch, 100%. And one of the things that I think is one of the more underutilized tools in field watches is, of course, the compass style bezel. One of the things that I love on field watches, and I've said it with my Seiko Alpinist, is the inner rotating compass style bezel. Yeah. With the current iteration that you have, maybe in the next developmental stages, do you plan on maybe doing an inner rotating compass style bezel, or do you want it to be on the outside?
Yeah, I've kind of played around with that a little bit. But when I do that, it does kind of what John was asking. It shrinks my dial down, and I like having a pronounced dial, a larger dial format. So I haven't quite figured out how to incorporate it yet. The way that I might do it one day is in a larger model, larger than 39. So I've thought about it. It's a great question. I just haven't executed it yet. I haven't quite figured out how to execute it, I guess I should say.
I'm a fan, wrist work.
That's a question from the field watch aficionado himself.
Yeah. Well, Seiko, I mean, yeah, the Alpinist is, I mean, it's awesome. Yeah.
We do have a question.
I joined late, but I was listening to you talk, and I agree with you on the CNC thing. And Dave hit the nail on the head. I own Photoshop. It doesn't make me an artist, so a lot more than just buying the CNC machine.
That's right.
But I know is it American Watch Company? Is that the company that started up to try to do some kind of OEM, ODM stuff stateside? I'm sure it's way more expensive, but is there anyone else trying to do that as well to try to make onshore more possible?
Yeah, Dave, you may have done some more research than me because I'm kind of, set in what I'm doing. So I don't know if you have. Yeah.
So there's I would say a company probably bigger than American Watch Company out of Mesa, Arizona called FTS.
FTS does it.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, I knew it wasn't American Watch Company. Yeah.
They have the American Quartz and the American Chronograph or American Mechanical movement of theirs are automatic. But those are not fully American made.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was mentioning earlier. That they're out of Arizona, right?
What is?
Yeah, Mesa.
Yeah. Exactly.
Other than my kids, I think that's about the only thing I have that's truly fully American made.
Yeah.
Right.
We do have a couple questions down below. I think you've covered this, but wants to know if Jason, what you're wearing, is this your full-time job?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't have a job anymore. And this is what I do, but I don't have a job anymore. So, I have this kitschy thing that I say I make watches, but I sell happiness. And I truly believe that though, because it's I'm just very fortunate. I worked for a long time and put my money away and saved it, and so now I get to go have fun.
Nice.
You have a job, but it's not work.
That's right.
And
I'm
the
busy.
Next question from Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher's had some good questions tonight. Do you make your own hands with the dial in the case? No. I'm playing around with a couple of things, but no. I work with one of the preeminent best hand manufacturers called Pioneer. I don't know, Dave, if you know who Pioneer is. Pioneer is phenomenal in who makes hands, and so I've had such tremendous luck with them that I just continue to use them. Very good. So you've been on almost 2 hours. It's flown by, and I definitely want to be respectful of your time. How are you feeling? How are you doing right now?
Yeah, let's wrap her up soon. Only because under a normal situation, I'm fine to keep going, but I got to get up early and get back over to that facility and start.
Yeah, you're a busy man for sure. So I just want to say thank you. It means a lot to me to be able to take these stories, allow the micro brand owners to tell their stories, because I think that is it might actually be the most important part of the micro brand, the person and the story behind the watches. So thank you once again, Stephen. It's been a great night. And thank you all for being on the panel. Thank you everybody who was in the comments. You're welcome back anytime, Stephen. Anytime. I would love to have you back.
No, this was fantastic, and I can't wait to get the new space opened up. And I'm trying to think of. I'm talking to Matt's Like Watches, trying to figure out a way to host something or do something in the space, whether it's virtual, whoever can come in can come in. Trying to open up more. I'm relatively new to TikTok. It has been fantastic. The community's great. Folks like yourselves, they're just so welcoming, and it's so much fun to interact with everybody. So I'm I'm trying to figure out a way to be more open. I still have to post on Instagram. I still have Facebook, so I still have to do stuff. But I'm having so much fun with the TikTok crowd for sure.
Well, thank you, and that's going to be the last word for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming beyond the bezel with me and Steven tonight. It's been wonderful, and like I always say, watches tell great stories, but people tell better ones. So thank you very much, Steven. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And we will see you guys next week with Mark from Islander. So we will see you next week. All right, guys?
There's a big one. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Adios.
it.
Thanks, y'all.
See you, Steven.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Hearing from you.
Bye.